Hi, my name is Louise Boylan and I teach Leaving Certificate Higher Level Maths at the Institute of Education. I've just got my hands on Maths Paper 2 and I'm going to go through it with you now. So question 1, I think students would have been happy when they saw that. Probability with a spinner, they've seen that before, okay? And moving into part B, a Bernoulli, quite standard. Part C was a little bit trickier there, required a little bit of thought for that one. Moving into question 2, trigonometry, a proof right up the front. Hit or miss, guys, you knew it or you didn't, but that helped you into part B, right? They told you even use part A to answer part B. The part C is a little bit harder than some of the previous questions that we've seen in terms of trigonometric equations. But again, the part A would have helped you there, right? We would have had to stop and think about that before you answered it. So some students may have struggled with that one. Into question 3, lovely starter again, area of a triangle, just using the formula, even the B part 1 with the midpoint, very nice. And again, the B part 2 here again, a little bit stickier at the end. 2 unknowns, 2 equations, so there's a lot of algebra in that within a coordinate geometry question. Students may not have enjoyed that one. Right, moving on to question 4, the circle, again, a nice opener. The part 2 here would have ended up with modulus equations, so more algebra we're seeing here again. And then the B here was quite tricky, I think. Question 4, part B, quite algebra heavy. I'm not sure that students would have enjoyed doing that question. Into question 5, a lot of text, but actually a very doable question. Part 1, part 2, just checking your calculator skills. The part 3 there is looking at your analysis, right? And we're seeing this more and more, your understanding and analysis. Do you really understand what those concepts mean? Right, and then moving into question 5, part B, was an interesting question, I think, with the stacks of cubes. And again, it was a pure logic question, a lot of text, a lot of reading to make sure you understood what you were being asked, but pure logic really. Into question 6, and again, geometry. I don't think this would have been a very popular one with students. It was kind of off-putting looking. Again, analysis, but if you had revised your geometry, I think you would have been fine there. Moving on to section B, question 7, trigonometry, very nice. Nice opener, a 3-dimensional trigonometry, which I think students would have been fine with. The C part and onward from there was a trigonometric function, which in previous years we've seen on paper 1. So some of you may have gone, oh, that wasn't on paper 1, maybe that's going to be on paper 2, and if you made that bet with yourself, you won. For question 8 there, a very standard question, our normal distribution and a hypothesis test. And then the part D though was tricky, I think, with the tree diagram, and it's just a huge amount of text there to work through and analyse. The question 9 was an interesting question to do with area at the start, right? That should have been okay. And it just moved into trigonometry again. And then a coordinate geometry, the circle brought in, which was nice kind of intermingling of the topics. And then moving on to the last question, so question 10, I think was one of the trickier ones on the paper, right? It started off in kind of something that we'd seen before, but then it ended up going into drawing a net and you had to work out the exact measurements. I don't think students would have liked that. And then the part B was permutations, which we haven't seen on the paper in quite a while. Overall, I think a fair paper with some tricky bits, as we would often expect with the exams, but there was surely plenty in there that the students could have got to grips with. So I hope it went okay with you, and it's done. That's the main thing, right? So onward, put it away, on to the next thing now, and best of luck with the rest of your exams.